Hey gang, we are at the Rose Hill Cemetery. Actually, we're at the cemetery across the street from Rose Hill. It's kind of the secondary. Would you say this is the overflow cemetery?
Yeah.
So we are here today. Britain has brought some locations to us and some stories about Gacy victims, and we've got a compelling story to tell you at the end here, and maybe we can all figure this out. But we're going to start by paying respects to 3-4 of the Gacy victims here. Well, I'm going to say there's 4 here, right? And Britain is going to tell us the story of these guys.
Stapleton.
So what is his story? When did Gacy get him in '76?
Sam Stapleton was 15 years old and he attended Sent High School. He was last seen in the evening of March 14th, 1976. He was abducted somewhere in Uptown. His family lived on Sunnyside and Magnolia, actually Sunnyside and Racine, and he was last seen leaving his sister's house right off of Broadway in Lawrence. He was headed over to his parents'. That was the last time he was ever seen, the fateful night of May 14th, 1976.
So they know that it's probably on that week or that night that Gacy got him, huh?
Yeah, Sam Stapleton's body was under the crawl space. He was positively identified by a bracelet that he was wearing. There were just a lot of things happening at this time. His body actually stayed in the morgue for about 9 months until he was positively identified, and all that time his parents were holding out hope. But here is where the remains of Samuel G. Dodd Stapleton have laid in the earth since 1980.
And those flowers you see, by the way, at all the graves, Britain came early and put those out. Let's go over here, Britain, to...
We'll move right along to the next one, who is another one of the unfortunate souls tied into that fateful night of May 14th, 1976. Now, the young man that we're coming to here, he also lived in Uptown, and he also went to Sent High School. Here lie the remains of Randall W. Retch. Randy was last seen that evening after he came home from school and he had a dentist appointment. He never returned from the dentist appointment. You have witnesses that positively ID'd him as a person that was seen up and down Broadway that evening. Basically, that fateful night of May 14th, 1976, John Wayne Gacy picked up both of these young men, and their fates were sealed.
And that is the one that we just saw?
Yeah.
And this Randall.
Sam Stapleton, Randy Reffitt disappear on the same night.
Okay.
Very quite possibly disappeared the same night, the same area. Very much a possibility that they were taken at the same time.
That is interesting. He must have... Well, do you think they were together in Gacy's house?
Well...
In other words, or do you think he did the deed with one and then probably went out and got the other one?
Maybe.
Which is crazy.
You know, one can only speculate. This instance here, the 2 cases with these individuals in particular, fuels into a lot of the speculation that Gacy did not act alone. Because they were both strong young men, and it's just...
Who's that guy that was his assistant contractor? What was his name? Do you remember?
Well, from our very first story together that we were off in the forest, we were at the location where Mr. David Cram hung himself in the Laval
So
woods.
that was the guy, yeah, when we did the lost cemetery in the woods. So he came out of it unscathed, this Cram guy, because maybe he got immunity, or...
Yeah, Cram gave testimony. He was a state's witness. Another name to throw in there is a gentleman named Mike Rossi. You guys can look into that name. Mike Rossi and David Cram, under testimony, say in court that they were actually helping John Gacy dig the trenches underneath his house.
Right.
All the while playing innocent, knowing that, you know, they didn't know, they claim. You have quite a few of the victims tied into both of those names, David Cram and Michael Rossi. Yeah, rest in peace, Randy. You are not forgotten, buddy.
Beloved son, Randall W. Refet. Is it Refet or Refet?
I say Refet.
Okay.
Could be Refet. Both his parents are gone now.
1978. And then over here...
15 years old as well.
He was 15?
Yeah.
And then over here we have another one.
Now this victim here, he ties into what the current controversy is with the state of this case. Kenneth Ray Parker. Kenneth Ray Parker was 16 years old, and he disappeared on the evening of October 24th, 1976. Kenneth Ray Parker was last seen with one of his friends, a young man by the name of Michael Marino. Kenneth Ray Parker and Michael were setting off to go play pinball down in the Lakeview area. Him and Michael were last seen alive at a hamburger joint by the intersections of Clark and Diversey, October 24, 1976. Kenneth Ray Parker was for a long time known as body number 15. His body was found next to the young man that he disappeared with under the crawl space. Now, Kenneth Ray Parker, a little personal facts about him, his bio: he and his friend that he disappeared with were both in a band. They were huge Led Zeppelin fans. They were pool players, pinball players, and they were headed off to go spend about $5 worth of coins down at the pinball arcade that evening.
Okay. And then we have another victim that is over here that is an unknown. Where is that, Britton?
Here, where I marked it with the flower.
Ah, yeah.
This will look familiar to everyone here, gang, because we've stumbled across one of these before.
Yeah, at Oak Ridge Cemetery.
Yes, sir.
Francis Alexander, right?
Francis Wayne Alexander, correct.
Now, this is not Francis.
No, this is an unknown here in the ground. To this day, they do not know. They do not know the individual that lies here.
Now, there may be a way to figure that out, guys. So we are going right now to not Mount Carmel, across the street to Queen of Heaven Cemetery. And we're going to visit another Gacy victim there, and we're going to tell you how this may tie into this grave, this young man, and wait till you hear. So we'll see you there. We are at the corner of Broadway, Diversey, and Clark Street in Chicago, and I'm with Britton here, of course. And you're probably wondering, what are we doing here? We're on the north side of Chicago, and the reason we're here is because, well, the reason we're not at Queen of Heaven Cemetery is we went to Queen of Heaven and we shot the story at Michael Marino's grave, one of the Gacy victims, and we were asked by the cemetery to not air our material and not do it because his grave is a private grave. We didn't know that. And as you know, we've got a really good relationship with the Archdiocese. We have a really good relationship with them. So we scrapped it and we're pivoting. And why we're at this, and by the way, it's a private grave. It's on Find a Grave. They should take that down. The family doesn't want, you know, people and YouTubers there. So please respect it and don't go there. Now, the reason we're here is because this is the location where John Wayne Gacy picked up Michael Marino and another boy, right?
Kenneth Parker.
Kenneth Parker. And they were here, what were they, at an arcade?
What was
an arcade over there?
Yeah, the Times Square arcade.
The Times Square, right where
Times Square Video Arcade. The building right behind Clark and Broadway sign right there. They both of their parents, or both sets of parents, knew where they were headed. The last time they were ever seen alive was actually across the street, what is now Stan's Donuts.
Ah, over here.
Back then in 1976, this was it was a grease pit diner, and they were going in there to get hamburgers. That is the last reported sighting of the boys alive.
So Stan's was a hamburger joint, and that is where they were last seen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to have to excuse the noise. Now, we are here at 4:35 in the morning, so this is the quietest it's ever going to be. And imagine like an hour or two from now, it's just going to be a zoo. So bear with the noise. Let's walk across the street to where the boys were last seen. Now, the story here with Michael Marino is that there's kind of a conflict or a situation, right, where we're not sure if that is in fact him buried at Queen of Heaven.
Correct.
Well, let's wait for the light here. Yeah, what's the story with that, Britton? His mom, when he was first found, he had clothes on, and his mom said no, he doesn't wear the corduroys and some kind of top, and the mom said no, that's not his clothes.
Correct. From the time he disappears in 1976 until the crawl space is discovered in 1978, his mother thought that he was a runaway, perhaps. That's what the authorities were claiming might have happened. Shortly after John Wayne Gacy's crimes were uncovered, Miss Sherry Marino gets a knock on her door from the sheriff's department, letting her know that they have uncovered bodies, and they asked her to provide anything she could to assist in their investigation, which she did. She came forward with dental records and a medical chart. From there, the authorities they identify his remains from the dental charts in 1980.
So the dental charts identified him, but then later she has premonitions that that's not my son.
Well, after they announced they found his body and the funeral is made and the boy is buried in the ground, she gets into the police report and discovers the clothing that the body they claimed was her son's did not match anything that he owned or had in his closet at the time.
So that creates doubt.
Yeah, that created doubt. And pretty much from that time in the late 70s, early 80s, all the way until 2012, Miss Marino had her doubts. Every time she would visit the grave at Queen of Heaven Cemetery, she would just have a feeling that something was amiss. Lo and behold, in 2012, through efforts that she made through the community and through a GoFundMe, she raised up the funds to get the body exhumed. And from a private laboratory, which she had the DNA sent to, they come back and tell her that it's not a match, that her DNA does not match the body that is in the ground at Queen of Heaven, which gave in to her suspicions over all these years.
So then what?
Well, this is where the controversy starts. At this time, you have the Cook County Sheriff's Office, which has gone far beyond their means and bounds with the investigation, claiming that perhaps her laboratory made a mistake and that there was enough forensic work done through 4 medical examiners in 1980 to prove that the body belonged to Michael Marino. Two opposing sides.
And where we stand now is we have a situation where we have that unknown child, that unknown boy that is at Rose Hill, and what's going, and it might be, he might be there, and you know, it might be, and at some point someone's going to get to that Rose Hill unknown that we showed in the earlier in this episode, and someone's going to do a DNA. They're probably Doe and the sheriff, right? They're probably going to get to that once they get the money. But you said that Michael Marino's mom was getting a GoFundMe going. You read that somewhere to try to get him exhumed again?
Yeah, that's how she financed the exhumation in 2012.
So she's trying to do it again, or was it for that?
She's trying to get another unknown body exhumed and examined.
Is that the one from Rose Hill?
I believe so.
Okay, so from Rose Hill, the one we saw, she wants to have that identified. And okay, so that might be to come. So I would say that maybe if we can find it, we will put the link in for her GoFundMe page. Go there and let's all try to help her, right? We want to help this situation. And you said that the sheriff's department, though, is like, hey, this case is closed.
It is officially a closed case with the sheriff's department. The body at Queen of Heaven Cemetery was known as body number 14. The body that was discovered to be Kenneth Parker was body number 15. They disappeared together.
Okay.
Very possible they were murdered together. Wouldn't it be a coincidence that they are both next to each other together over at Rose Hill Cemetery?
All right, what are we missing? Did we leave anything out there? All right, well, that's the story, and let's all try to see if we can uncover more information from you viewers if you know anything about the case. And let's see how this plays out. We'll continue to keep in touch, stay close to it, and report in. And there's also some other victims that we may go visit. So that's it for now. Thanks, Britton, for your help. He gets all the credit, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks.